Looking for an engaging story to reflect on? Congrats! You have tuned to the right channel. Welcome to Storytime Friends by Elise Sinclair, where you can listen to short stories and share your reflections with others in our community on Facebook, Storytime Friends Community, where you can interact with people from around the world. You're also invited to follow us on Instagram, storytime.friends. Can love stand the test of time? Is it possible to fall in love when you're not young any longer? These and other questions are present in today's story, Crossing the Bridge of Love. A piece of paper with Pat's monthly budget was on the desk. It was tight as always because Stan, her husband, was very stingy, so she had to support the house on her income as a catalog merchant. Stan said that women were parasites, only good at spending money. He worked in a factory doing maintenance on machines and always came back home from work with a pestilent smell of sweat, dirt, and black nails from machine oil. Stan was bad-tempered and didn't like talking to his wife when he returned home. Sometimes Pat wondered what had happened to the young man she had married long ago. He had changed a lot, and love had faded away with his metamorphosis. They had a daughter called Jenny, who was shy and skinny. When she was a little girl, she was afraid of her father because although he treated her lovingly, he was rude to her mother. One day, Pat woke up and found her husband in pain in the living room. She immediately called the doctor. A few minutes later, an ambulance took Stan to the hospital. He had to undergo emergency surgery because he had cancer. The news came as a shock to Pat. Stan hadn't been feeling well, but he had kept it from his wife. Fortunately, he successfully recovered from the surgery, and a few months later, he retired. Having him at home all day was a nightmare for Pat. They quarreled all the time. Pat was exhausted because Stan refused to follow the treatment as prescribed. One afternoon, they received a wedding invitation. Stan didn't want to go, but Pat insisted on going.
Come on, Stan. You'll have a lot of fun. How long has it been since we last danced? You'll have to buy a new suit.
No, I have my wedding suit.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. It doesn't fit you anymore. Look at your belly.
It just needs a few adjustments,
he said confidently. The wedding day finally arrived, and Stan and Pat got ready for that social event. Once at the party, Stan was very animated talking to his friends. Suddenly, he opened his legs, put his right hand in his pocket, and started scratching his genitals. Pat was so ashamed that she disappeared into the crowd and met Millie, an old friend, on the other side of the room.
Let me introduce you to Roger.
Nice to meet you.
Roger answered with a warm glance. They immediately felt as if they had known each other a long time ago. Besides, the conversation they had was very engaging. Pat told him she was a gallant merchant, and Roger asked if he could introduce her to a friend who made jewelry. She accepted eagerly, and they exchanged their phone numbers. Roger got in touch with Pat a few days after the party, and they arranged to meet his friend to show her the jewelry he had made.
I love this jewelry.
Thank you. It's quite popular, and I keep my prices affordable.
They came to a commercial agreement, and Pat began to sell his jewelry. Roger invited Pat for a coffee to celebrate in advance the profits she would make.
You'll sell everything in no time.
Roger said, smiling at her.
I hope so.
Pat exclaimed, and she told him she badly needed to work hard because her husband was very stingy and didn't give her money to support the house. She also told him that they didn't get on well and that he was very ill. Roger listened attentively and told her he was a retired doctor. He was a widower and had a son who lived in Switzerland. Roger and Pat fell in love soon after they met. They were really connected. He had everything Pat wished her husband had, and vice versa. Roger asked her to divorce Stan and marry him.
Your daughter is married, just like my son. They don't live with us, so they won't be affected by our decision.
By no means. I promise to respect my husband and stand by his side in wealth and poverty, in health and sickness, and I'll keep my promise. Call me old-fashioned if you wish, but I feel that's the right thing to do. I won't cheat on him. Roger respected her decision. They remained friends for 3 years until Stan's death. When Pat became a widow, she accepted to marry Roger. To her surprise, Stan left a large amount of money in his bank account when he passed away, which enabled her to retire. Roger was such a good husband, lover, and friend. He always prepared breakfast with a romantic touch, leaving a flower, some chocolate, or a special note for her. They used to go shopping together, enjoyed the company of Pat's grandchildren, and traveled a lot. On their last visit to Hawaii, while they were looking at the beautiful scenery from their balcony, Pat closed her eyes, smiled, and Roger asked her,
What are you doing, darling?
I'm recording this moment in my soul. You've made me so happy.
I couldn't live without you,
Roger said as he embraced her.
Don't worry, darling. When this life comes to an end, I will find you, wherever you are. Our love is a never-ending story.
Pat told him, feeling their hearts beating as one. Being stingy prevented Stan from fully enjoying his life, and that determined not only the way in which he lived, but also the way in which his family had to live because of that. His wife had to work hard to support the house on her own, and he wasn't generous enough to let her feel that it was a shared responsibility. Greed turned him away from his wife and made him lose the experience of sharing. Life laughed at him because he didn't share the material things with his family, and he had to leave everything in this dimension at his death. Another important aspect of this story is Pat's loyalty. Although Stan left a lot to be desired as a husband, she kept her promise because she didn't want to hurt anybody. In the end, life rewarded her with love beyond time and space. I really enjoyed telling you this story. Thanks for being there till the end. We are eager to know about your reflections in our community on Facebook, Storytime Friends Community, where you can interact with people from around the world. Remember to follow us on Instagram, storytime.friends. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. I promise that I have many more stories to tell you. Love is the fuel of the universe. We are always seeking it because it's our essence. So be ready to find it in many ways. See you in my next video, friends. And don't forget that in your personal stories, you are the stars.